Shirholzer and Netanyahu Koch. Thank you for being here and sharing your stories with us and your experiences. I know that takes a lot of courage, and we're very grateful. I'm going to start. I'd like to ask both of you to tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell us about your family backgrounds, your Army experience, your Army service, and finally, how did you decide to become a dentist?
Hi, nice to meet everybody. I'm Shir. I'm 26 years old. I'm in D3 out of 5 years of dentistry. You may notice I speak English a little bit well. I was born in Jerusalem at Hadassah Hospital, and when I was 5 years old, my family moved to Montreal for my father's fellowship at McGill University. When I was 15, we moved back to Israel. I finished high school in Israel, and then I drafted into a special unit in the intelligence. It's a unit that incorporates the Army, the Navy, and the intelligence corps. And I would tell you what I did there, but then I'd have to kill you. So we're not going to go to that, but I served there for my mandatory 2 years. And then I continued for another year. I was a commander. And then when I finished the Army, I had to decide how to utilize my time and do something important with my life. And I had a few role models and mentors when I was young who were actually were and are members of this fraternity. And I had the honor of being accepted into one of the best dental schools in the world. And that's how I got where I am today.
Okay, so I'm Netanyahu, I'm 22. You might hear in the accent, but I'm originally from London. I was born in London in 2003 in the Royal Free Hospital in Finchley, up in the northern neighbourhoods, the Jewish neighbourhoods. Me and my family made Aliyah when I was 1, so most of my life I've lived in Israel, but my extended family still lives in London, and we back and forth all the time. I graduated high school in Modi'in in 2021, and I decided that my skills were best utilized in my Army service as a dentist, and I was very lucky to be accepted into Hebrew University at the age of 18, and start my degree in Hebrew University. I'll explain a bit about my program. So my program is called Bina, which means wisdom, so it's a funny name. And it's basically a program where we do our degree, become dentists, and then we draft into the Army, and we serve as dentists for our mandatory service and 2 more years. So now it's 3 more years. The way my program works is we have training, Army training in between our academic years. So between the 2nd and 3rd year, I went into officer training school, and I completed that in the summer of 23 when the war broke out. I'm now currently a 5th year student with Shir, which is equivalent to D3, happy to be here.
So you were in officer training course when the war broke out on October 7th. Can you describe your experience on that day, and then what have been your special duties now that the war has continued?
Okay, so as I was saying before, I was in my officer training course in the summer of 23. So the day the war broke out, I was actually guarding from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. and I went to bed for 2.5 hours. We got woken up by the sirens. I was in a base down south in Machtesh Ramon, very beautiful base. And we were woken up. We were told to jump up and go to our guard posts. We didn't know what was happening. We were told there might be terrorists driving down south in the cities close to us. And we were approximately 80 soldiers on base, guarding the whole base. So each of us had different duties that we had to do. We weren't prepared to do them, but we were just told to do them. We were told to contact our parents to make sure they're okay. So I turned my phone on, it was Shabbat, I'm a religious person, and my mom didn't reply, so I was quite stressed out, but a lot of my friends had a similar experience because people in the center of Israel might have not experienced it the way we did, and a lot of the religious families didn't turn their phones on and make contact with their loved ones that were around the country. So basically we had to prepare for the incoming 2,000 reservists that had to come into the base. So we had to prepare all of the bases, and we had to cook, we had to understand how we accept all of these soldiers in, we had to guard. This was all happening at once. So it was a very scary situation. And I'll talk a bit about what happened in the following days. So in the following days after the war, as cadets in the officer training course, we were regarded as highly trained, disciplined soldiers that the army could use for special services that needed to happen now that the war had started. So a group of us were taken to perform funerals for high-ranking soldiers and officers throughout the country. So a lot of my friends performed between 5 and 10 funerals a day in our hotel for high-ranking officers that died in the 7th. And the rest of us were sent to Eilat, to a city down south. And we were told we had to help evacuees in the hotels. The city of Eilat has approximately 60,000 people that live in it, and approximately 60,000 people were evacuated into the hotels in Eilat. And the city was not prepared to deal with that amount of people. So we had to logistically organize prams, cots, diapers, a lot of equipment, medicine, things that people just didn't have. They had half an hour to an hour to leave their home if it's in Sderot or Ofakim or Ashkelon or the kibbutzim in Naotef, and they just arrived in Eilat with nothing. So we were there as soldiers trying to coordinate all of this. It was a very important duty we had. So Shir was, I think Shir will talk now about where Shir was on the 7th.
On October 7th, I was visiting my parents in Toronto. They've been living there for the past 3 years. And we went to bed on October 6th in one world. We woke up to a completely different world. A rocket had fallen 20 meters away from my house in the Neferet. My sister called and told me there's terrorists all around the country. Everyone's running to Milim, which is the reserve service. Businesses are closed. We're running from siren to the bunker. We don't know what's going to be with us. We don't know what's going to be with Israel. I didn't imagine what was going on until I started seeing the horrific videos. And that's where I was.
About this yesterday, being so young and yet having such a heavy national responsibility. Would you care to talk a little bit about that?
So, as I said, I can't go into too many details, or else I'll have a problem with our security officer. But I can say that something about the education in Israel is that we're all made to believe that our army service isn't a burden or a hassle. It's our duty, and it's an honor to serve our country. So being 18-year-olds who aren't exactly mentally developed and mature as adults are, we don't really know what the meaning behind what we're doing is. I mean, when I was 18, I was taking care of things that if you try to imagine where our intelligence is and you try to be extremely creative, I'm not sure if your mind will even guide you to the place that our army goes. But I think that when we grow up and we realize the meaning behind things that we were doing and the pressure and the stakes that were behind our job and all of the lives that we were literally protecting in our day-to-day shifts, I think it was cool to work hard, and it was nice to not sleep and to do what we had to do in order to serve our country. And I think that today, being 26, I understand that, and that's also one of the problems with our reservists, because people going into the reserves are not 18-year-old kids or 20-year-old kids without worries and without a care in the world. They're emotionally developed. They know what they're doing. They understand what's going on. They understand what they have at home and what they have at stake. And even when they come back from the war, they're not the same people they were before going in there. And I think that's why this program is an incredible incredible opportunity, and it's really very meaningful. And if you can help someone in Israel and someone who went through something, this is the project that can really make something meaningful and really help out. And I think it's just amazing.
Can you describe a specific moment that has impacted you from your time serving?
So I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about one moment when I was guarding. It was about 10 days after the war started, and we were coming to the end of the officer course. And so I was guarding in the night. We guarded in pairs during the night in my base. And we had the radio on, which was allowed since the war began, because there was so much news flooding in and people had to stay connected to know what was up with their friends, their family. So we had the radio on, and they announced on the radio that one of my friends from my high school had been killed in the war, Lavi Lifshitz Zichrono Livracha. He was a talented photographer, and it was horrific. And just that moment, staring at the dark, at the edge of my base, with my friend who'd also lost many friends in her unit on the 7th, we both just broke down, and it was very, very hard. That one moment where suddenly everything just fell apart, and you suddenly realize what just happened in the last 10 days. I think up to then we were just functioning because we were told what to do, and it was easy to just move on and not sleep a lot and act and help and watch out. And that one moment was when it all crumbled. So I feel very fortunate that I have this opportunity to remember Lavi Lifshitz. So I really thank you for that opportunity.
Challenge for both of you, as well as your peers, since returning to treating patients or just returning back to life after serving?
So, Nathaniel and I may not be combat, and we can't speak on behalf of our peers who have experienced first-line combat stories, but I think that a lot of us Israelis forget that what we're experiencing is very difficult. I mean, you'll ask someone on the street, how have you been doing? And they'll say, we all have PTSD, and laugh it off. But it's not normal. It's not normal to be in the middle of a crown prep and to have to run with your patient into the safe space because there's a siren. It's not normal to wake up at 3 a.m. and be told that Iran might attack Israel and that our lives are at stake. It's not normal, and we still go on because we're Israel. We have to keep living life. If we don't continue, who's going to continue? And I think there's that aspect, and I think that there's also the aspect of our Miluim, our reserve students, who are in Gaza one day holding a huge piece of artillery and looking at terrorists in the eye and doing what they have to do to protect our country. And then the next day, or a few days later, they have to hold a gentle piece of dental equipment and look their patients in the eye and be extremely gentle and treat them as a person, when I don't think people realize that the drive from Jerusalem to Gaza is an hour and a half. The change from being in a tunnel and in our clinic is drastic, and to expect people to go from 0 to 100 or maybe 100 to 0 in a few days is crazy. And with all the resources we have and the way the faculty has been incredible to all of us, extremely, extremely helpful. I mean, I don't know any other place in the world where the dean has sat down one-on-one with each one of the reserve students and helped them plan out their return. But we're limited. We don't have the resources to treat mental health. I mean, the situation is very complicated. And once again, the Renewing Minds, Restoring Hope it's incredible. It's something that can completely change a person's life and bring them back to the world and maybe give them back who they were, because, as I said, people aren't the same when they come back from the war.
Show you these few pictures. So this first picture here with me in it is from our sim lab, or the stairs next to the sim lab. We were practicing our endo teeth. I think you can see in the picture there, that's Shira taking the picture. And there was a siren, so when there's a siren you don't think about what you do, you just run out. So we're standing in the stairs here, checking our phones, making sure that everything is okay. And then you walk back up the stairs when the siren finishes, when everything is safe, and you carry on. And that's how life has been. Everywhere around the faculty has these protected areas. Everyone knows where the protected areas are. We have maps. The patients know. We explain to the patients in the beginning of each treatment that it might happen, and that we'll make sure we put the rubber dam back on, or whatever we do in the case of each treatment, and we take them to the safe space. I'd like to refer to this picture. This picture is a chair with Carmel Gatt. Carmel Gatt was a student in our faculty, and she was abducted on the 7th of October, and she was brutally murdered in captivity. And in our faculty, every single study hall and every single classroom has a chair with her face on to commemorate her. And this picture was taken the day after it was announced that she died. We had an exam, that she'd been killed. We had an exam, and Shira put the candle there out. And we just had to sit through the exam, and that's how life has been. And these are some of the challenges that you just have to go through, because life has to carry on.
And faculty done regarding mental health and healing to help get you through these challenging times? And how has Alpha Omega helped you all?
So as I said, the dean has sat with each one of the reserve students and designated a faculty member, one faculty member per reserve student, to help them both academically and to get through their requirements. And I think that the whole school has been completely 100% into helping everybody. They've created complete clinics just for the reservists after the year was over, which was a crazy initiative, very difficult. And I think that, as I said, mentally, as much as they try to help, there's that need for the special mental assistance, and that's on the way, and there's still a very large and a good feeling that the faculty is there to help us and to help anyone who needs it.
On top of what Shiv said, that really the way I look at it is that we have like the day-to-day layer, which is our Dean Professor Zini helping every single student that has come back from reserve force and helping them function on a day-to-day basis, if it's in clinics, if it's in class. And then we need to add that layer on top of that, which is the mental health side, which I think our faculty does offer great help. The university has assistance, but it's very, very limited in the hours and in the way you get it. And I think most of our friends that have tried to access it failed. So I think that's why this initiative is so important, because this is the way and this is the access, and that's how they'll get to it. So this is it. Like, I just want to emphasize that.
Else you would like to add that you feel that our attendees here and our members would want to know?
So, a wise man told me that on October 7th, Israel went to flames, but on October 8th, the world for the Jews of the diaspora completely turned upside down. And I think that sitting in this room with dentists who are from Europe and Canada and the US and Australia, I heard, and Israel, of course, we're all united, and we're united as people who support the Jewish community and support each other. And I think that that's so important, and that's how beautiful this fraternity is. And I hope that we continue to work and to be a fraternity and be in an alliance together, because we are Am Israel, and Am Israel Chai.
You are so impressive, both of you. You're beautiful people inside and out. And I thank you so much for reliving very difficult days and times with us. That's your courage is today. And I'd also like to invite Shlomo and Avi, please come up. Avi and Shlomo represent the dental schools. And as I said, we have listened to hours and hours of video. Please come here. What Shlomo is representing Racheli, who can't be here, of course, but I know you've been part of this as well. The amount of effort you all have done for these students is beyond what a normal person would do. And we are so grateful the time you have spent with them and making sure that they did well in their schools as well as their emotional support. We are grateful. And we have also small tokens for you that we'll give you afterwards. And so thank you.
Absolutely. It's possible. First of all, I would like to thank you for your continuous support in both schools. And there is a proverb in Hebrew which says, "Hametzil nefesh achat b'Yisrael, כאילו הציל עולם ומלואו." Somebody who saves one soul as if he saved the whole world. And that's what you are doing. So thank you very much for everything you do for us.
More here for both of you. Thank you so much. So now I'd like to close with, and thank you so much. I'd like to close with my